Another great episode of Seek Sustainable Japan. Now, today we are tackling two very important issues in Japan and around the world in terms of a sustainable life, sustainable business, sustainable world. We are talking about seed saving and the importance of maintaining our food diversity. And we're also talking a little bit about an issue that's not very well known in Japan and even around the world. It's kind of a new topic, PFAS, and how it's in our water, in our products. And we have an expert, Dr. Ryoko Matsuno, who has been studying and practicing and doing these workshops about these topics. So, really excited to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining, Ryoko.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's fabulous to have you. And I was introduced to you. I have to say thank you to the wonderful Wendy, who is one of your neighbors, right?
Yes,
In Nagano. So you're based in a rural area of Nagano, is that right?
yeah, that's right. I
And
was brought up in Tokyo, but 8 years ago, I decided to move to this area as the view of the mountains is so beautiful, and it's just fantastic place to live.
that's wonderful. Now, I met Wendy because we met online and she did one of my sustainability focused courses for
Right.
tourism. And she said, "Oh my gosh, you have to talk to my
Mhm.
neighbor, Yoko. She is doing so much amazing work." So you're very active doing workshops and activities there in the local area. Is that right?
Well, I try to be.
But you come from kind of a research background. Tell us a little bit about why you got interested in environmental topics. Where did that
Okay,
come from?
I think I love nature ever since I was very little, but I after I got my first degree, I started to work for a consumers organization called Consumers Union of Japan, and I was responsible for um, hang on, no, anti-detergent campaign. And when I was working in the area, I got some information about some surfactants some surfactants are endocrine disruptors. And I have never heard about endocrine disruptors before. When I thought, oh, this is very, very important. Because, the article I first read was about fish were feminized due to some surfactants. And I thought, oh, this is really dangerous. And I thought, oh, I really want to study about it. And I decided to do my master's degree in the UK. And after I finished my master's degree, I thought, and I came back to Japan. And I worked as a translator for some years, and still thought, oh, I need to study for even more because I really wanted to be an expert. So I decided to do my PhD in environmental law, and I studied about endocrine disruptors and then how how the environment can be protected by endocrine disruptors.
So it really came just from kind of a personal interest and then sparked by reading a little bit about it and then
Yep.
realizing, hey, wait, what? And I had a very similar experience. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got interested in sustainable tourism and
Right.
sustainable issues is once I had kids, right? And I start
Oh,
reading labels more and reading more about it and noticing all these issues coming up in the news, which before that maybe I wasn't really reading that or interested in that. But I think that life experience related to what you want to study, what you want to research, and then what you want to start telling other people about. And
mm.
how come nobody knows about this, right?
Yeah.
So let's start a little bit about seed saving.
Oh yes.
So I came across a great article about how there is a storage for the world's seeds a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago, and I was really interested in it. And then they were talking about, oh, the dangers of this seed vault might be
Right.
thawing out from climate change, so we might lose all this access to the world's thousands and thousands of different kinds of seeds that are stored here. And you're doing seed saving in Japan. So,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about why seed saving is important and what you're doing?
Okay. In Japan, self-sufficiency rate of seeds is very low. It's like 10%. That means 90% of seeds farmers sow, they come from overseas. And when the COVID COVID-19 was serious problem. There was a serious concern about imports of many goods might be stopped. And so seeds, if seeds don't come from abroad, we just we just I mean Japanese can die from hunger. So I think saving seeds is very very important. And Japanese farmer used to save seeds, but I think nowadays most farmers buy seeds. So if there's no seed, they can't grow anything. So from the perspective of food safety, yeah, hang on,
Food security.
yeah,
Yeah.
food security. I think it's vitally important.
Yeah, I agree. I just came from a project on the Ogasawara Islands.
Uh huh.
24-hour ferry away from Tokyo is the only way
Yeah.
to get there. And I was really saddened that they are living in such a food insecure situation. Now, I grew up in
Mm,
Hawaii. Also, in Hawaii, we import like 90% of our food
all
needs.
right.
Some studies say we can only survive a week without imports. So it's so sad to go around Japan and also realize there are communities
Mm-hmm.
in that same situation, not able to grow their own food, or maybe they're able, but the reality over the years, the way of doing business or the way of getting food has changed to make them so self not self-sufficient and so
Mm-hmm.
reliant on the imported foods. So you noticed that around Japan as well, right?
Oh yeah.
10%. I had no idea.
That's shocking, isn't it?
Shocking.
Yeah,
So
I was really shocked when I first found out about it. It was only 10%. Oh,
yeah. Because if you search online, you do find, like you said, it was a traditional practice
yep,
to save your seeds,
yep.
right? But now most farmers just buy their seeds. I talked with Thomas Klepfer, who's a no till organic farmer here in
Mm-hmm,
Hiroshima.
mm-hmm.
And he talked about trying to save his own seeds and a little bit about the politics of seeds. And some companies own the copyright of the
Yep,
seeds, and you're
yep,
not
yep.
allowed to save your own seeds. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh well, I think a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, um, Japanese law changed about. I mean, there was a legislation called seed and hang on, it's called seed law, and that has changed quite a lot. And then now there are many variety of plants which are patented. So if farmers want to grow the patented variety, they have to buy the plant from the developer. So, but what farmers used to do is like they propagate their own seedlings and seeds. But so that means, I mean, if farmers have to buy everything, it means they have to spend a lot of money on seedling and seeds. So you know that farmers, I mean, there are many farmers. Farming doesn't isn't really um
Profitable?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a word. Profitable business, you see. So if farmers have to spend a lot of money on seed and seedling, that means that is a huge loss for them. So I think protecting the farmer's right to save seeds and save seed is very, very important.
Absolutely. And we know that so many farmers are really operating on such small margins
Yeah,
of
right.
profitability. And the number of farmers is on such a steep decline in Japan
Yeah,
for
yeah,
many,
yeah.
for
That
a
is very
variety of
worrying
reasons.
too.
So we really need to support the farmers as much as possible and make
Yeah,
it easier for them to
yeah.
propagate their own crops once they find vegetables or fruit that works well with the land that they're on, right? That makes the most sense.
Yeah, but what Japanese government is doing is complete opposite. They are making the lives of farmers more and more difficult.
Yeah. We got a nice comment from Darren Gould. Thanks for joining from LinkedIn. A lack of seed saving is a global issue due to patents. Yeah,
Right.
right. Like operating farms like companies that have a patent for the kind of plant. It doesn't seem very logical, right? That we
No.
want to support people to grow food that we need. We don't want to make it so difficult, but it has become so corporate, like big pharma, right? Big oil. We also have big agriculture, which controls monopolies of a lot of our food, right? Yeah. Wow. So look at your garden. I love your pictures of your garden. It's fantastic and very similar to the no-till farm that
Oh,
I
I
visited
do know
nearby,
the
right?
farm. Yeah.
And then the famous, oh, what is his name? The famous
Fukuoka,
Japanese Miyazaki, is it?
Fukuoka,
Who
no?
no-till farming and natural propagation. The One Straw Revolution was his book,
Fukuoka,
right?
Masanobu Fukuoka, I think.
Yes, Fukuoka. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And he had this great vision many years ago about
Mhm.
don't disturb the soil. You don't need to get rid of all the weeds. And it looks like you're doing that kind of method. Is that right?
Yes, it's very, very similar. I don't put any fertilizer. I just cut weeds and just lay them there. So
Yeah, gorgeous. And then you also like the last time we were thinking of talking, you were doing a seed saving workshop. So what do you do? No?
it's not me. I mean, my
Oh, okay.
neighbors do it. Yeah, my
Okay.
neighbors have a something called the seed cafe, where many people gather and they exchange their seeds,
Oh, that's nice.
which is very, very good because if you want to save your seeds, you have loads, like a lot. So basically, you can't sow everything. So if you can exchange your seeds with someone else who wants your seeds, it works very, very well.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
And especially if you're doing it in your local area where things are going to grow well,
yeah,
you can exchange and say, I had good luck with this, maybe in a sunny place, or give each other advice or something, right?
exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's
And there's
fantastic.
a very good group in Yamanashi Prefecture, where you know most people who take part in that group are Yamanashi locals. But I go there because the quality of their seed is very good. So and I grow things which they don't grow. So exchanging the seed is just just amazing. It's really good.
Yeah. And I've talked to many people who are doing organic farming, natural
Yeah.
farming, urban garden clinics like
Mhm.
John Walsh in Tokyo. People just trying to get people excited about growing their own food. Even if you're doing it on planters, on your terrace in the
Yeah.
city, right? Like you can start to grow something. That a recent trip I did to Ogasawara, and I visited a wonderful farm run by
Hmm.
a second generation farmer on Chichijima, No
Hmm.
Safe Farm. And she gave me and other people who attended her garden tours a little berry, coffee berry, which has a coffee seed inside or a bean. And
Wow.
she encourages people to go and plant it and try to grow their own coffee tree, And
Wow. That's amazing, isn't it?
it's such a nice idea. And you realize all the coffee I'm drinking, that comes from like 100 coffee trees. Like it really needs a lot of trees to make a 1 cup of coffee. And
Oh.
so you're raising awareness, but also you're encouraging people to grow their own plants, which is
Hmm.
lovely. Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Um, So, yeah, so in your garden, how do you save your own seeds? Do you have a special method?
Oh well, basically, seeds needs to be. I mean, fruits needs to be very, very mature. So like okay, when I was talking with a friend the other day, she said, "Oh, I saved the seeds of sweet corn." And when I looked at it, I thought, they are rather soft. I don't think they will germinate. So you really need to let them mature so that
Is
uh
it best if it's really dry?
yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you really need to let them on the plants. Like aubergines, they usually eat when they are this size maybe, but let them grow until they become the double the normal size. And
I
and
think I think
they
farmers call that letting it go to seed,
oh yes, oh
right?
yes,
That
exactly,
makes
yeah.
sense, yeah? I've heard farmers
Exactly,
say that.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes sense. And then
yeah.
on your plants as well, it looks like some of them are going to seed. Is that right?
Okay, the one in the center, they are cucumbers, and they are from my seeds. I saved the cucumber seeds like for the last 5 years or so, and
Great.
I don't think um I can't really see any cucumber at all, so maybe they are dying. I don't know, but cucumbers need to be like this. Okay, this size, like this. So very, very big. And I mean, you really need to let them go yellow. And so you leave them on trees like at least for one month or something like that. And in Nagano, as it's cold, when the frost comes, all the summer vegetables will basically die. So you will need to calculate, how long it's gonna take to, that they go to seeds. So for cucumbers, you need something like 2 months, maybe not 2 months, 45 days, something like that. And for courgette, you need 2 months or something like that. So you really need to calculate, okay, the first frost could come like middle of October. So, they have to be, they needs to be germinated by whatever date, something like that.
Interesting. Now, I do compost at my
Yep.
house, and
Yep.
composting is something everybody should do because it reduces your trash immediately by
Right.
30%. You're really helping your community, but
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great for your garden. And I get lots of compost treasures.
Right.
right? And that so I'll see a little sprout
Oh
from
yeah,
my compost and I'll be like, okay, good. I wonder what that is. That might be a tomato, it might be a cucumber, right? So that's another way to reuse your seeds,
right,
right?
right, right.
And you must do compost because you're doing
Oh yeah.
natural farming.
But actually, I don't really use my compost because I don't put anything in my field, so they are like piling up. I don't know what to do with them.
You have to dig it in. Keep
Yeah,
digging it in different places, and then you're gonna find some treasures that you
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah,
reuse.
yeah.
Yeah. But I've had the most delicious tomatoes
Uh
which
huh.
came from compost,
All
or the
right,
most delicious cucumbers which came from compost. So it's always nice to it's nice surprise. Oh
right,
yay,
right, right,
little
right.
treasure.
Yeah, but the beauty of growing, I mean, saving your own seed is like, the varieties that you really like. When I lived in Tokyo, I just bought tomatoes, whatever variety they are. But now I know, oh, this tomato I really like. So I will just keep, growing this. So there are something like 5 to 6 different varieties of tomatoes I really like. So I grow them every year. And I
Nice.
save the seeds every year.
That's so nice. And it's so
Yeah.
rare. In Japan, I find most supermarkets, the tomatoes don't have enough flavor.
No, no, they
So
don't.
if I find a really good tomato, I always try to, even if it's more expensive, I try to buy it and
Right.
then I try to keep the seeds and keep reusing it if possible,
Mm-mm.
right? So that's a good style, like you said, your favorite tomatoes. We need more like heirloom, they call it in
Oh yeah.
America, heirloom styles, right? Then you get more diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Also in Ogasawara, they're famous for tomatoes.
Oh
And the local guide we were talking to, she said recently she was talking to the farmer,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of tomatoes they can't sell to the
Oh,
supermarket
right.
because they're ugly or they're a strange shape or they're a strange color, but they're perfectly good and healthy. So she and many of the other locals are starting to get the ones he can't sell, and
Mm-hmm.
they're using it for sauces and
All right.
juices, and they really appreciate it, and the farmer really appreciates it because he's not just
Oh.
putting it in compost, right? Somebody can enjoy it,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like a
yeah, yeah.
win-win. I love
Yeah,
that
taste
story.
wise, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because if even though it's funny shaped, once they are cooked, it's the same.
Amazing, and it's one of their few local products that they can
Right.
get, right? But that idea that supermarkets won't buy
Mm,
even organic vegetables is difficult to sell to the main shops, right? So a
yeah.
lot of organic farmers have to do direct
Yeah,
customer
yeah, yeah,
trade or
yeah.
CSAs, right?
I think it's a lot of work because harvesting the vegetables, then pack them, and put it to the courier companies. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So if they can sell them direct, I think it's so much easier for them.
And then they can have a little bit better margin as well, I hope. And it's fun to get strange vegetables. I love it, right? Like you get a really weird shape and it's like art. You're like, oh,
Right.
this kind of looks like a statue or something, like a dogma, some of them, or, like a
Well,
funny
sometimes
face.
they're difficult to cook. Like when you need to, particularly with root vegetables, you have to, remove the soil and the stuff. So sometimes I get, I have funny shaped daikon or funny shaped carrots, and it's like,
How do you use it, right?
oh,
Yeah.
I just peel off and peel the skin off and just cook.
Yeah. But if I'm getting organic vegetables, I don't
Mm,
worry so much about the dirt being on a little
mm,
bit, like
mm,
on the
mm,
peel of
mm,
the
mm.
potato
Yeah,
or
you're
something.
right.
I'll
But
eat it.
sometimes
I'll
you
wash
are
it.
like you
I'll eat
feel
it,
like.
but I know it's organic, so it doesn't bother me, right?
But if you have sand in your mouth, you won't be happy. So you really want
Well,
to get
no,
rid of
I
them,
would
right?
wash the sand off. Yes. Okay, let's switch topics a little bit. Let's talk about PFAS.
All
Now,
right.
I recently saw, and I know this movie came out years ago, but I only recently heard a great podcast with Mark Ruffalo, the actor.
Right.
And he's also a very popular, well, very kind of well known environmental activist as well as an actor. And he played the role of this lawyer
Yep.
in America who was a corporate lawyer and then
Mm-hmm.
changed to become an environmental lawyer
Yeah, yeah,
and representing people who were being basically poisoned. And it started with a farmer who was losing all of his cows and the nearby chemical factory, which was poisoning the water that they were
yeah.
drinking. And then the lawyer realizes it's not just the animals, it's the people.
Yes.
And he went on to represent tens of thousands of people, and he's still fighting
Yep.
even now. So you have studied environmental law. Where is Japan in this? Is Japan in a similar situation?
Well, I think in the last few years, people are finding out that water in this country is badly polluted with PFAS, particularly near U.S. Army base or Navy base or whatever. And I think it's very, very serious problem. And there's a factory. Oh, is it okay to mention the name of company?
Yep.
DuPont.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, DuPont has a factory in Shizuoka Prefecture. And it was recently found out that the water nearby the factory is badly polluted with PFAS. And workers there, when the level of PFAS in their blood was tested, their blood was also very badly contaminated.
Oh my gosh, it's so sad, and it's just I'm very focused on sustainability and
Yeah,
environmental
yeah,
issues, and why didn't I know about it before? It doesn't get much news, but
yeah.
Japan Times did a really good article
Mm-hmm.
about it last year
Okay.
about how Japan is slowly waking up
Right.
to the PFAS issue. And
Uh-huh.
they were covering from the US bases in Okinawa
Right.
through the foam. So a lot of the most obvious issues, I think, have come from the firefighter foam,
Yes, 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 you're
which
right.
also has PFAS, and it was leaking into the water systems
Yeah.
for the surrounding community.
And there are many parking spaces like, you know, big um, building where, which was specifically designed for parking. They also have PFAS as a firefighting foam. And I think it was in Okinawa again that one of them broke, and there were foam everywhere. It was horrible.
Yeah. I think you can see the image of that in the Japan Times article down
Yeah,
below
yeah,
as
yeah,
well. And
yeah.
and then saying, the firefighters went to collect it in buckets. And I'm thinking, oh no, like
I think it's
that's
extremely
not
difficult.
safe for the firefighters either. There is one of the cases that Bilott, who's the lawyer in the movie for Dark Waters, one of the recent cases he started, well, 2018,
Mhm.
is representing a firefighter who
Oh,
got cancer after 40 plus years as a firefighter working with the
oh
foam.
dear.
But it's not just the foam, right?
Yeah.
It's in a lot of products that we are using all the time. So this image here from uswatersystems.com shows, of course, the fire safety, fire anti-fire foam, but
Mhm.
also it's in anything stain resistant, any like non-stick
Oh
pans,
yeah.
waterproof clothing,
Mhm.
even candy wrappers and food wrappers.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. So and dental floss. So I looked at my dental floss, and this is the big hurdle. Now that you know about PFAS, how do you find out if your product has it in it? Is it on labels? Do you?
No. So
Oh,
they really need to be labeled, I think. Whether or not they contain PFAS, it should be clearly labeled. Otherwise, consumers don't know.
no,
Labeling is
absolutely.
very, very important for, any product, I think.
Absolutely. That's step number one.
Yep.
Public disclosure, a
Yes.
requirement of companies to disclose which products have PFAS, and then people can choose, make
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
knowledgeable
yeah.
choice. Of course, I think it should be banned.
Oh, yeah.
If it's not safe, you can not use it, right? We know it's dangerous. But the first step before that happens, because that's going to be really slow, is to put it on the labels. Now, this really powerful quote from Bilott, the lawyer in the
Mhm.
US, and he was quoted in Time, this awesome Time article about the issue. And he said, what we're hearing once again from these companies that put those chemicals out there, knowing that they would get into the environment and into our
Mm.
blood, is that there's insufficient evidence to show that they present risks to humans who are exposed. But these companies are going to sit back and say, we're entitled to use you as guinea pigs. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful, right? Is that, I mean, it's like profit over people,
Yeah,
profit
yeah,
over
yes,
the
yeah,
planet. We're hearing this again and again, but enough is enough, right? Where is the
yeah.
regulation? Did you
Yeah, I read
study?
the
Yeah,
Bilott's book, and oh, I mean, the film was very good as well, but the original book was just extraordinary. I was like, you know, what DuPont and 3M did is like, oh, it's a real crime.
yeah. So I think your what you said in our notes back and forth before we started is it's really hard to tackle what's in the water
Mm,
system. That's really hard. But what we can do is start avoiding products which
yep,
have it in,
yeah.
right?
So you really need to be aware, what PFAS are, and what sort of products can contain them. And then is having that awareness can protect you from nasty chemical, I think.
Yeah.
So it's
Now
really
the
important to collect the information and raising awareness in order to protect yourself and your family.
the Japan Times article
Mm-hmm.
said that in 2020 the Japanese government made safety limit for drinking water,
Oh yeah.
but it's not legally binding. So it's just a
Well,
suggestion.
and it's 50 nanogram per liter, which is far less strict compared with European countries and the US, I think.
Now you're researching the topic now, so
Yeah.
you don't have all the data yet. You're just starting to do this. But is
Mhm.
are you coming across any resistance or any legally binding things that are going to come into effect to protect people?
Recently, I think it was last week or two weeks ago, something like that. And Japanese food safety commission set a new standard for food. If they can't, I mean, food can't contain more than no, sorry, tolerable daily intake. They said, each person shouldn't have more than 20 nanogram per kilogram of weight per day. But 20 nanogram, which is, I mean, in comparison with European standard, that is not strict enough.
So the level needs to be a lot stricter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is the European standard? What is
It's 0.663 nanogram. So which Japanese standard is like more than 200 times looser.
oh
Something
my
like
God,
that. So it's
yeah.
like, oh God.
So,
And I mean, in Japan, I mean, internationally, uh, two, no, three PFAS, which are P4, P4s, and PFHX, they were banned. And in Japan, P4 and P4s, they are, I mean, import and manufacture is they are banned, but use is still allowed. That's the reason why firefighting foams are still sometimes used in this country. And then PFHXS, which will be legislated, I mean, the ban of the PFHXS will be legislated this year. Well, I mean, that's going to happen quite soon, I think. But in order to in order to manufacture semiconductors, PFHX looks like it's very necessary. And now Japanese government is trying to increase the number of semiconductors produced in this country. And they are trying to increase the number of semiconductors, increasing. So it's like, where are we going to go? What's going to happen to this PFHXS, which are necessary for the manufacture of semiconductors? So I'm very, very worried. And I think now there's a big factory in Hokkaido. I think the name of the company is Rapidas or something like that. And they are starting manufacturing semiconductors pretty soon. And local people living in the area are very, very concerned about the effluent. So I really don't know which direction Japanese government is going. I'm very,
well,
very concerned.
it doesn't make sense not to regulate it, because
No.
one of the big issues you see is it's not only the customers using the products, it's not only the surrounding area that suffers from pollution, it's the workers who get sick from being around the processing, the making of the products. And that was a big part of the story in the movie, and what
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
lawyer in America is fighting for. And we're having a labor crunch in Japan. We need more workers, not sick workers. If you have sick workers, that's not good for your business. That's not
No,
good for the economy, right?
no.
So yeah, we need
Yeah, the company says that they will collect all the PFAS from the effluents, but I don't know whether that is you know
possible.
possible.
Yeah. I did come across some companies in America which are starting to advertise ways to treat PFAS water. These are water treatment companies.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different ideas out there. There are people trying to take it out of the water system. I know that one of the parts of the suit in America was to add filters
Like,
to what they're making. Is there anything like that happening in Japan? Is anybody trying to take it out or research it or add a filter or something?
well, as a matter of fact, I think that was in Okayama Prefecture, and some company which use charcoal to filter the PFAS, they put it near the water source. I mean, they dumped the uh, PFAS contaminated charcoal near the water source, and the water source was contaminated, really badly contaminated. And people who are drinking the water, their blood is also contaminated. So, I mean, using charcoals or whatever other things, that's fine. But, what we gonna do about them after using them is a big problem. Because, PFAS are forever chemical, you see. They don't get decomposed.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, forever chemical means it's going to be in your blood forever. And not just your blood, it can pass to your children too.
Children, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And forever chemical also means forever in the environment.
right.
So that's
Well,
amazing.
some papers say that they get discharged eventually, but it's gonna take 6 or 7 years, 5 or 6 years, I think. So if you're if you're drinking water by drinking water, eating food, if you're taking more PFAS, even though some PFAS get discharged from your body, as long as there's constant source of coming in, you can't do anything about it. Yeah, it just builds up in your body.
Yeah. And
It's
we have
really scary, isn't it?
so many environmental factors to worry about now. We have microplastics we can't
Oh
see.
yeah, yeah.
We've got chemicals from foods that we can't see. This is another. But what you said earlier really struck out to me. For every sustainable issue that we have, we're making things, we're making products, we're doing strategies, but without thinking what happens at the end of using this process. Like, we still don't have a way to process nuclear waste.
No,
So,
no.
okay, nuclear power, it's clean while you're making it, but we still don't know what to do with the waste.
Yeah,
So,
you're
is
right.
it a viable solution? Can
Mm-hmm.
we make plans just on maybe we can figure it out in the future? That's not good enough, right?
Oh well, so we really need to be careful about what we buy. Like if you eat some fast food, which could be wrapped with PFAS coated paper, you put the paper in the bin, and the bin, I mean, the paper will eventually end up in the municipal incineration plant, and they get incinerated, and they come back to the air. So you really need to think of the whole life cycle of the all products, I think.
Yeah, the circular
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I recently did an interview with Unpacking Japan, and one of the things I talked about is a lot of international visitors to Japan. They're really shocked by the overuse of plastic
Right.
packaging, and and it's something that because it's so normal in
Mm,
other countries not to do that. When they come, they're like, "Oh, I feel uncomfortable. What's happening?" Right? But a lot of the comments from Japanese people are saying, "Oh, but we incinerate all of our trash. It's fine. It's all sorted. It's not a problem." But without thinking, even incineration, you're putting things in the air. What
yeah,
happens to the ash after it
right,
goes to
right,
landfill?
right,
Well,
right.
then that's going in our ground, right? So you really, it's not the normal way to think about things, but we need to start, right?
And I think Japanese people need to be more aware that plastics themselves are actually toxic to you. They are really bad for you. Many of them have endocrine disrupting effects. So I mean, trying to avoid plastic as much as you can is just not good for the environment, but for good for yourself. I think people. I mean, so many Japanese people are kept in ignorance. I'm
But it's not talked about in the media.
no,
It's not talked about in the newspapers.
right, no,
So
you're right.
how we can't really blame people for not knowing if there's not
Yeah,
available
yeah, yeah,
information,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But I
So
really think this information needs to be taught in schools.
yeah. But when
Mm.
your school is sponsored by a chemical company,
Oh,
or or your research for the university students is sponsored by someone who's not going to like what you're talking about, right? So it's that's also, we need, yeah, public education that is not biased is very important too,
yeah,
right?
you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Oh, it's a big issue.
Yep.
But Yoko, I really appreciate you coming and talking about these issues. So we talked a little bit about some of the filter ideas that are
Mm-hmm.
happening by water companies. Now, I was surprised to see this. This is from a park in America,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a sign saying, "Don't eat the fish, avoid the foam, but you can swim in it. Just wash off after. If you catch a fish, just release." And I'm wondering, once we start having labels, this might start happening in Japan. So is it safe to swim in it? Just wash it off after? I was quite surprised to see this in America.
Wow, where did you see it?
So this is I'll add the link, but these are signs that
Okay.
people are starting to see. This is from Detroit Free
Oh
Press
wow, really?
as well. Don't eat the fish. If your pet gets wet, rinse off your pet. You can catch the fish, but release it. Don't eat it. So these, yeah, I'll share with you as well as the audience. It's quite surprising, right?
Yeah. Japanese eat a lot of fish, and fish could be major source of. Oh, hang on a minute.
Well, it connects to historically to one of the biggest cases in Japan about poisoning from the fish and food you eat, Minamata, right? For
Mm.
the anybody who doesn't know about Minamata, can you summarize a little bit the case?
Ah, okay. Well, I think it was post-war thing, and fishermen in Minamata Bay Area, as they ate a lot of fish contaminated with organic mercury. Um, the organic mercury built up in the body of the people who ate the fish, and they got paralysis or many horrible symptoms due to mercury poisoning. And there were many court cases, and some of them are still ongoing. So it's not really finished. The first case finished in 1968 when I was born or something like that. But there are many court cases still ongoing. So it's really really sad. And before the Minamata disease, many people believe that when when women are pregnant, the what's the
Mercury.
word?
Is it
Huh?
mercury?
No, not mercury. Womb can protect um, babies from all toxic substances, but you know, mercury poisoned mothers, and they passed mercury into their babies as well. So babies were born with Minamata disease. So before that, people believe that, and many even scientists believe that, um, oh God, what's the word? Fetus could be protected, you know, from all nasty chemicals, but Minamata disease proved that, oh, that's not the case.
And now we're seeing similarities with PFAS. How
Yeah.
PFAS is passed on to the child, passes through breast milk as well, right? So history repeats itself if we
Mhm.
don't have stricter regulations
Yeah,
and
yeah.
more awareness. So I really appreciate that you're researching and trying to share this information. It's hard, but it's really important, right?
Yeah, it's very, very hard.
Very hard.
Yeah.
We had a great comment from Michael Mueller
Mm.
on YouTube. What about
Oh, glyphosate. Oh dear.
glyphosate Roundup?
Glyphosate. That is a main ingredient of Roundup herbicide.
Yeah, which is common in Japan, right? You see it sold easily at stores. It's banned in Europe, in many countries around
Not
the world.
yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. But in America, they are. I mean, they are not. They are not sold in places like supermarkets or something like that. You really need to be go to some specific place like license. Like shops which are licensed to sell pesticides and herbicides, I think. But in this country, you can buy it anywhere.
Yeah. I I have a friend who's an organic farmer and he has a
Mm.
neighbor who puts Roundup next to his organic farm. So
Oh
now
no!
Now he can't use a big area of his farm because of that. It's just awful. But a lot of people don't know, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's back to the
Because
lack of
they are advertised
labels,
as safe product. You see, so
labels and
when
awareness.
I well,
Isn't it crazy though that we regulate alcohol, we regulate marijuana, we regulate lots of things,
mm-hmm,
tobacco.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
compared to chemicals, forever chemicals, those seem really minor in how they damage society, damage our bodies, damage the environment, right?
Well, actually, glyphosate was sprayed in schoolyard in my town. So I stopped it when I was a town councillor.
How did you stop it? You just raised awareness and voted, got
Oh,
people to vote on
I
it?
asked um, the Commission of Education, and I mean, they are actually carcinogenic. So please don't put spray any carcinogenic substance in the schoolyard, and they understood.
Very good. Yeah, we stop people from smoking around kids. Let's protect them in other ways too, right? And now going back to another comment Michael
Hmm.
also made, he was talking about saving seeds.
Oh yeah,
Coriander.
oh yeah.
Coriander can yield thousands of seeds. Nature is truly bountiful. I have so many coriander seeds for next season and enough to grind up and sprinkle on my porridge. I've never had coriander porridge. I'm going to have to try
What?
that.
I have never heard of that. That sounds very interesting.
That sounds really nice. Yeah, I eat porridge every morning. Oats are a very sustainable product. Even if you're importing oats, have
I
oat
love
milk
oats.
instead of cow's milk, right? It's a great alternative. So coriander, I'm gonna try that.
Wow.
Are there any? Let's get back to seed saving a little bit. I
Oh
think
yeah.
we've talked a fair bit about PFAS. About which plants you find easy or not so difficult to save seeds. Can you give us some
Tomatoes.
recommendations? Hmm?
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, definitely. Because you need to wait until they get quite mature, but they are very very easy. You just scrape off the seeds. I mean, with jelly thing, and put in a jar and leave it for 2 days or something. Then the jelly stuff will kind of get dissolved. So you just rinse off and dry them, and that's it.
That's great. Also,
Yeah.
organic farmers, Heather Nakase in
Mhm.
Nagano,
Oh yeah,
who does
I watched that.
Nagano Naturally,
Yeah.
yeah. Her and Thomas, who I talked about before, they both talk about using sunchokes, Jerusalem artichoke or sunchokes.
Okay.
I don't know the Japanese name, but I often get it when I get their farm produce. And you can roast it just like potatoes. You can make soup from it. So it's great to eat. But if they don't pull all of the roots out, the roots grow again and again, and it's really good for the soil. So plants like that really help the soil, good to eat, but also easy to propagate, right? Every year. We want more plants like that. That's great. And a really pretty yellow flower.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, they're called kikuimo in Japanese. And
Kikuimo. Okay,
yeah,
okay, that's
I have
great.
loads in my back garden.
Right?
They grow
Yeah.
too well, actually. It's like they double every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see that in my garden. I put it in compost. I haven't seen any yellow flowers yet,
Oh
but
really?
I hope someday to get the treasures, the compost
But be
treasures from you.
careful because they are very very strong plants.
Oh, really?
Once you put if you put one Jerusalem artichoke in the soil, they will like double in in terms of volume every year. So you please be careful. It's
Okay,
usually
okay,
better.
but I keep thinking, but if something bad happens in the world, my family can survive just eating Jerusalem artichoke.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
it's okay. We had a comment from Bayside Farm. Thanks for
Yep.
joining. Jerusalem Artichoke is Kikuimo. Thank you so
Oh yeah,
much. Yeah, awesome. Oh, peanuts. Peanuts are also easy to get, germinate, to get seeds. That's good advice. Have you ever tried peanuts?
I grew some last year.
I love peanut butter. As a
Oh yeah, me
vegetarian
too.
vegan, peanut butter is our staple food,
Oh,
right?
I'm
We
vegan
carry
too,
it
so yeah.
everywhere. But most of the peanuts is imported.
Oh yeah, mainly from China, I think.
So we need to grow more of our staple foods, the plant-based proteins, the beans and the nuts. We need
Yep,
them,
yep,
right?
yep, yep.
So
But
also
peanuts are quite
in
difficult to grow for me. I mean, every soil has preferences. Like, some soils are good at, growing this or, you know. And in my field, I mean, last year it was, due to bad drought. I mean, everything was so difficult. But
yeah. And then
mm,
I visited Wendy and Rodrigo also in Nagano. They run a
yep.
guest house there. And he is from Mexico originally, and he's
Oh
growing beautiful Mexican pinto beans that he
yeah.
makes
Ooh.
Mexican food from. So having a nice bean in Japan is really rare too, right?
Well, but in Japan there are many different variety of local beans, I think.
Oh, good. I
Yeah.
always buy local beans if I can.
Oh yeah.
Azuki beans, right? Soybeans, sometimes you can see
Mm-mm-mm.
sold, yeah.
But just talking about soybeans, the variety in this country is just amazing.
Is
I don't know
it?
how many different varieties there are, but even in just Nagano area, I think there must be quite a lot. I
Yeah.
have never counted them, so I don't know.
I'm
But
a
there are
I'm a big
quite a
fan
few.
of beans because we need that plant protein, right, to keep
Yep.
going. I wanna make, burgers, vegan burgers with
Ah,
locally grown soybeans or
right,
locally
right,
grown
right,
beans. That would
right.
be awesome. All right, we just have a couple more minutes. Ryoko, is there anything we didn't talk about that you'd like to talk about? What do you have
Ah,
coming up? So you're starting to research more about PFAS. Anything else you've got coming up? You're always so busy. Are you still on the government? Are you still a government
no,
official?
I'm not. I'm working on my own. Okay, if I can get funding somewhere, there's an film about glyphosate, and I've been wondering, if someone would give me funding to um produce Japanese version of it. I want to put Japanese subtitle to it because so many people are ignorant about glyphosate, and I'm very very concerned. The amount of glyphosate being used in this country is just astronomical. So I'm like, oh, how could I stop this? So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed so that somebody will give money to produce Japanese version of the film.
I have an idea.
Well,
Patagonia is
oh yeah,
often offering scholarships or funding for
oh really,
projects just like that. And a lot of
really.
Patagonias, even in Japan, they want to show films like that. So let's get in touch with
Yeah,
Patagonia and
yeah,
give
yeah.
you
I will
some
try
funding.
that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, maybe set up a crowdfunding page
Oh
and
yeah.
they'll start funding you because that's a great project.
Mm,
Very important. And I think that kind of film where it really has a big impact and it's very truthful but very honest about what's happening. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's so
yeah,
powerful. We need more of that, right?
yeah. Yeah, the story is about a worker who has been spraying herbicide for many years, and he got cancer, and I'm not sure whether he's still alive or not, but he had very bad skin. I think but the cancer also affected his skin, and it was just so horrible. And so, oh, this is something Japanese people need to watch. But unfortunately, there's only English version available, so I really
No,
want to put Japanese title to it.
absolutely. We need a Japanese subtitle version to help spread awareness. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
important.
yeah. But
Well,
thank you
thank
very much
you.
for the Patagonia. That's quite hopeful, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, because I often go to Patagonia shop and I'm so impressed by all the great films that they
Uh,
show. Like they have public viewings, and in Japan, they always have ones with subtitles. So that would be a great project.
yeah, 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 yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Patagonia, if you're listening, please reach out to Ryoko and give her some funding.
Please.
Well, thank you, Ryoko, so much. Dr. Ryoko Matsuno, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for all the work that you do in raising awareness, in research, but also in legislation and being a counselor and doing the legal hardships as well. I really appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was a great pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
And thank
you.
you, everybody, for joining and your wonderful comments and questions today. And a reminder, of course, if you have any more questions and comments and you're watching it on replay, please write them below and we will try to get back to you with the answers as soon as we can. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Ryoko.
Bye.